Hey, welcome back to Sustainable Success. In the last episode, I talked about why ethical sourcing matters more than ever. And I shared a little bit about my bigger vision. So today, I want to take you a little bit deeper. I want to share a little bit about my own personal story, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And I believe that sometimes it's the very battles we face because the foundations for the vision we are called to build. Uh, in this episode, it's a little bit personal, but it's the reason behind it is that I'm building an ethical sourcing company. So I know sometimes it feels like the environment that isn't safe or it's not stable. My children and I went through a season where I was dealing with overcrowding, rat infestations, and constant pressures of not knowing where my next move was going to come from. Now, I'd spent 10 years in China. I'd gone and done a stint in Saudi Arabia. Then me and my husband and the children moved to Mexico. Then we made a decision that instead of all the moving around and whatever, let's get the children prepared for school. So the decision was made to come back to the UK, thinking that that was the best option. And when we got here, the conditions in the UK at this particular moment in time is not what I left off with. Um, when I arrived here, I was refused housing, so to speak. Even though I was a mother with two children, and my husband was in a different continent at the time, and it's been a real battle, and it's been stressful, and it was very painful, but also places that my faith was put to the test. Yeah. And amidst all that chaos, one thing became very clear that when you're building anything, whether it was me coming back to the UK after a certain amount of time, let's call it a decade, and coming back and building a foundation, building something, you need to have that resilience. Um, and it's necessary. I had to get up every day and decide my children's future was a lot bigger than where I was. My vision was stronger than this struggle that I was going through. And there was an elegance that came from within, not elegance as in luxury, but elegance as in dignity, holding my head up, even when everything around me was trying to pull me down. Faith, resilience, and also elegance. Those are the three words became the pillar of what I stood for. And sometimes I say I just move through it with grace. And that's why I was so adamant in my last video about when you have a vision, you need to get real clear in your head. What is that vision? Yeah. And what is it that you want? And if it does everything else fall into line. If people are helping you go towards that, then keep them in your life. If people are helping you come back from that, it helps you in your life. It also makes you see who is who in this, right? So when I was going through all that rubbish last year, I would say, right? Well, in the last year, people could had front row seats to the chaos that was going on in my life, and then decided that what they wanted to do was add more drama to it. So, you know, you start to get very clear who is who, what is what. And, you know, in the midst of that, creating, building ICMA business solutions, because I know that stability matters, integrity matters. And if I could fight for stability in my own home, I wanted to create a company that helps businesses find sustainability in their supply chain. I talk about this a lot with other um, people that are starting a business or in business, when I look at business, how they do things in China to how they do things in like probably the rest of the world, or my experience or my personal experience. Now, they normally tend to lean towards people that are married, have a family when it comes to businessmen, because that shows them that you're able to lead your own family, you're able to have consistency in your family. And if you can do that in your family, you can do that in the business. And the same with um business women, like being married, having children, that shows that you can the balance having a relationship and the ups and downs of an everyday relationship, also having a family and building a business. So your personal life, so when you are creating a business, sometimes reflects in your business life and vice versa. So if you're able to create stability in your own home, you're able to create stability in a business. If you're able to um, deal with marital issues and not give up at the first hurdle, when you're building a business, you're able to go through things and not give up at the first hurdle. Always having a solution. What is the solution to this? So I want to talk about ethical sourcing, and it's not just a phrase, it's personal. Now, I know what happens when the foundation is broken. At the moment, I am living in a system that is broken, does need to get fixed. And I'm trying my very best to see where along the lines of where I can be a solution to that, rather than a hindrance or somebody that's just sitting on the sidelines just talking about it. So while I'm building, I want to be the kind of partner that other businesses can actually trust. So one of the new things that I am developing for my business, I should imagine it's a framework. I've been working on it for the last maybe 3 or 4 years. A hitch up when I came back to the UK happened where I'm going to have to start again because some of the things. But IBS Wealth Seed is going to be my new way of being able to do businesses in different countries. Now, all it is a cryptocurrency, and all it is that, instead of going through the red tape of the bank, you can do peer-to-peer swapping. That's in a nutshell. Similar to PayPal, but we're doing business. So once that money comes on my side, I'm able to work in the background to get that money transferred over because of the businesses that I have in China. Right? All legit, all above board. It's just making business a lot more smoother and sustainable. Yeah, because what I've realized in the UK, everybody is a bit more, I would say, you're a bit more open to uh, opportunities, many different opportunities that other countries don't have. Other problems with banking and all this kind of stuff. So that's something that I'm working on with the crypto currency side of things. I know that on the crypto front, you're not hearing a lot of gurus coming up and stuff, but I do believe still that is the way forward with digital currency, which I didn't understand it before. When it first came out, I think everybody was trying to make it so uh, what's the word? So complicated. And it really isn't. Yeah, it's just a way of being able to transfer money from one person to another, where just being a currency. So that's something that I'm working on. Um, so my business can build wealth that lasts, and it's not just gonna collapse at the quick of blink of an eye. So within the last 12 months, if I look at it, these are the main things that I've learned from coming back to the UK, dealing with the UK as it is now, not necessarily as what I remember. Again, I grew up in a time where you used to be able to leave your back doors open, go to your neighbors, ask for a cup of sugar, and nobody goes missing. At this day and age, a little bit different, a little more challenges, but it's been rough. It's been rough. The new standard is rat infestation places where they placed me in, and they said that was my permanent place that I was going to live. So I don't know how bad things have got in the UK where that is the new standard for a single well, not single, but I was my husband isn't here, right? He's in a different continent. So I'm here by myself with the two children. So I've had to really dig my heels in very deep this year and figure out how to do everything and put the kids on my back. Yeah, while I was doing it. So shortcuts cost more than in the long term run. I'm so sick of seeing on Facebook, Instagram, all these different ones make somebody selling a course for this, somebody selling a course for that, gurus, coaches, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. About 30 days turnarounds, 90 days turnarounds, 20 days turnaround, how to make $1 million in seven days flat, all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not saying that it can't be done, but shortcuts cost more in the long run. So whether it's in housing, sourcing, in integrity is always the cheapest path in the end. Yeah. Putting people in accommodation that they don't feel that that they've got some kind of sense of worth, some kind, I can't even think of the word it is, but just looking down at your noses and pushing people over here and not even caring about, the next generation of people that we are bringing into the world. Because as I look at it now in the UK, the people that are actually running the country, they would be first generation to me, that first generation. They are coming now to wind down now. They're coming into their retirement places. And it's like my generation now, I would say, would be the next people that are going to be working for the country. And I'm not quite sure if everybody really, really, really has that same level of buy-in that they did in the first generation, and then my grandparents' generation that came over here, that was invited over here um, to make Britain a better place. So integrity is always the cheapest option. So while you're trying to cut corners with like people's lives and even in sourcing as well, like sourcing comes down to, all right, let me just use these guys because they're the shortest ones, but these are the cheapest ones. But how are they cheaper? How is the people being treated there? There's a story behind everything. Resilience is a business skill, right? So if you can survive the challenges at home, you can survive the challenges in the market. Like, not every day you're going to know the answer. And then just don't quit. Just keep moving and just have in your mind, okay, well, an answer's going to come eventually. And if it falls where it falls, then that's God's will. Yeah, that's just how I see it now. I'm not going to throw in the towel too easily. I'm going to go right back to the end, to the last day, to then God showing me, okay, right, this isn't the direction I want you to go through, right? So resilience is a skill. Don't just give up at the first hurdle. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going until you cannot go anymore. And then when you think that you can't go anymore, keep going. And when you feel like you really, really can't go anymore, take a rest and then get back to it. There are going to be people on your door. There are going to be CCJs. There are going to be people taking you to court, litigation, I think it's called, right? There's going to be all that. Yeah, we just take each day as it comes and just get through it. What I find out is trust is the real currency. This is the first maybe generation of people that I've noticed don't trust the government. Don't trust any people that are in leadership at the moment when they say anything, if it's true. And that can lead down to men of God or people that say that they are prophets and all this kind of stuff. Like, there's just no kind of what they're coming out of their mouth is what's actually going on in the backyard in their home, right? So they give these great messages, and then you find out that they are fighting for the other team, or that the moral compass is a little bit skewed. Um, Family is really, 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 really all we got. Yes, you do have people that become family, and I get all that. My mother-in-law is like my mom, right? So I get all that, but family is really all we've got. So your clients and the people that you invest in, you've got to be able to trust them. That fine line of trust, and it's building up. So even like sitting at the table, even if it's just once a week, yeah, sitting at the table and having dinner um, with your whole family, yeah, building that bond, because that's really who we've got at the end of the day. We can't rely on the government, can't rely on any form of leadership that they say that is going on at the moment, because they live in double lives. Their moral compass is not in alignment with what they're saying and what they're doing. And every other week there's an expose on this and there's a scandal on that. And when trust is gone, when trust is broken, that's when you see all these things are gonna start falling apart. Right. I think one of the Labour guys came to the door and it was talking to us about, they feel like reform is going to be attacking them at the moment, or is a big threat in the UK. And I was trying to say to him, like, it's not that they're a threat, it's that they're answering the questions that the people are wanting to be answered. Like, you can only push people like a certain distance, a certain so much, keep playing in their face so much before they're going to respond or retaliate. And these are people, including myself, where our grandparents have fought for this country. Um, our grandparents have come over and not only fought in a war for a country. Our grandparents have come over to build not only a better life for themselves, but to rebuild a country after the war. First and second generation people, first generation working 40, 50 odd years, putting into a system, and now that their children can't even get on a housing ladder. Yeah, their children can't even get a decent job. Their children they can't even afford to feed the kids. So what have they been feeding into? So it's not the fact against Labour, against reform. Reform at the moment is just in tune with um what the whole country is crying out for. And really it's just um a better standard of living. Yeah, being able to go to work, feed your kids, and have a roof over your head. Yeah, that is all that people want. And in any other country, it is not racist. I've lived in like 3 or 4 different continents, and in all those continents where where it is, they always put the local people first. Yeah. Um, I will talk about China because I was in China and I worked in China and I've got business in China. So I can talk about that. And the local people always came first. If there was a job, um, for example, in my business, if I'm going to employ somebody, I have to employ a certain amount of local people before I employ any foreigners. And that was across the board, Saudi, Dubai, like across the board where I lived. Um, and here, it seemed like when I came back, and unfortunately, I had to move. I had to apply as homeless, so to speak. And you're all bungled in the same bungle of like immigration, people that's just got off the boat, people that have come over it illegally, people that are here illegally, people that are from here, all in the one boat. And then being on the last of the list where people have not um, put into a system. And I'm not saying anything that any other country you go to, if you go there, you put into their system. Like, you would not be able to go to China and you're not bringing some kind of skill. Australia, you're not going to be able to just rock up in Australia and not being having any kind of skill. Now, I'm not talking about immigration because that's not my business. Yeah, that is not anything to do. What I'm trying to say is that British people, if you're British and you are born here, you should be able to come first, like any other continent that where other people live, and they are the native people of that country. Now they might complain, the native people, but as being a foreigner in many places, the native people always come first, and then the foreigners are next. If you're gonna go into their country, you need to bring a skill set to be able to build their country, and that's what I liked about China. Uh, Also Saudi Arabia, exactly the same. I just, yeah, also, yeah. And yeah, so I'm saying those are the places where I lived out. So my run over, those are the three things that I've learned. Shortcuts, it's a lot cheaper. Shortcuts cost more in long run. Yeah, sure. If you're trying to take the cheap way out, it's always going to cost you more. Resilience, things are going to come up, and you've got to have the backbone to be able to come through it, whether that's your normal life or whether that's in business. Don't just give up at the first shoulder. Keep going until you can't keep going. And if you feel like you can't keep going, take a rest and come back to it. The problem's still going to be there. Trust is a really big thing. Nobody, I can say, in the UK trust each other, and that's even right down to their families. Like even people within their families, they don't trust. So trust is the real currency. So whether it's family, clients, people you invest in, you've got to have that level of trust within you. So if my story resonates with you, I'd love to take it to the next step. I put together a free guide. It's called the Ethical Sourcing Starter Kit. It's got questions that that every brand should be asking their supplier before you're signing the contract. You can download it from the links in the show notes. And if you're listening, because this episode is going to be coming up, I'll be talking about more of the ISMA Business Solutions Wealth Seed currency, cryptocurrency, and I'll give you more practical steps on how you can use crypto in your business. And remember, if you can begin building a global vision in the middle of personal crisis, and you can build your vision too. So if you're going through a personal crisis, you might as well get something for your pain. Yeah. So just continue to go it. So that's me. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode.